Hello. Today we're going to be discussing two emotions. These emotions are envy and emulation. I'll begin with envy, which is related to the emotion of indignance, which we discussed in the previous video. But it has some quirks. Indignance is concerned with anger evoked by the sight of good things unearned or undeserved. So indignance is connected with the indignant person's beliefs about what is just and what is moral and what is deserved and undeserved. It's a universal emotion. We don't factor in explicitly whether or not we are the recipient of the good things in question of the individual that we are feeling indignant towards. Although whether or not we have those very things may inflame that feeling, it's not the primary driver of that feeling of indignance. Rather, the indignance arises because we see that someone is getting something they don't deserve, and we want a world in which people get things they deserve. Envy is a similar feeling of anger, but in this case, it's not connected to a feeling of justice or an intuition about what's just. Envy is simply the anger at seeing something have good fortune that we don't have, without taking into consideration whether or not that individual deserves it or not. And envy, according to Aristotle, is painful. It's when we see people who we believe to be our equals, not in terms of morality, but in terms of physical appearance. So Aristotle mentions things like age, social standing, and so forth. We tend to be more envious of those who are in close proximity to ourselves, so that could be their background or their age or their occupation. It could also be proximity in time. We're more likely to be envious of people that are alive. We're not envious of the dead, which is interesting. Envy is like a mirror. The pain that we see from others having good things, whether it's wealth, health, or otherwise, is not only conspicuous in that it highlights the absence of those things in us, but it also holds a mirror up to our actions. The envious person, according to Aristotle, thinks that deep down they didn't do the right things, which is why they don't have those things. They think that they haven't lived properly, they've made mistakes in life, and they are also hopeless because they don't think that they can have those good things, and that's why they're envious. And envy wants us to take away the good things we see that others have, arguably above and beyond our desire to have it ourselves. So it's a malicious hopelessness that wants to spread that feeling of hopelessness. The ambitious are envious, according to Aristotle, and that includes people in public office, people who almost have it all but don't quite have it all. So a millionaire may be envious of a billionaire. People who are wise, apparently, they're envious of those who are wise. Small-minded, because they attach a high value to almost everything, so they're envious of things that people who know better may find trivial, in the way that a child may be envious of another child's toys, only to look back a few years later and realise that those toys were useless or uninteresting. It clouds the judgment and envy, just like anger. And there's also an age element that ties to the point about hopelessness. So the old, for example, can be envious of the young because the young have youth that may have been misspent by the old, and they know that there's no way they can have it, there's no way they can get it back. And because of that impossibility, they, rather than being glad for the young and for their opportunity, they're envious. Emulation is related to envy. Like envy, emulation is provoked by the sight of others' good fortune. But unlike envy, that desire is a good feeling that good people feel. Emulation causes us to strive for the good things, to be inspired, to be driven and motivated. We see that others can do it and therefore we can do it because they are good and we are good. It's the opposite of contempt. And young people feel this because young people are full of hope. And the lofty people feel this because lofty people have high values and high morality and they aspire to high things. So it's similar to envy in the sense that it's provoked by the fortune of others and creates a feeling of desire. But unlike envy, it's constructive. It causes us to seek those good things and doesn't concern us with whether or not the other person deserves a thing, or doesn't concern us with taking that thing from other people. Finally, in the realm of persuasion, if we rely on someone's decision, we don't want them to be envious of us because they're going to spite us. If we make the judge envious of us, the judge is not going to show pity on us. And we can go back to the video on pity. If we are a person of high standing, of high morality, then people we rely on are going to be well disposed to us because they think we deserve the good things in life. So you don't want to evoke envy. Ways you can do that is by flattering the other person. Actually, why are you envious of me? You're better than me. By understating your good fortune, not being flamboyant, not being profligate, and by also distancing yourself from another person such that they don't even compare themselves to you. The peasant can't be envious of someone of royal blood, for example, because they just can't comprehend ever having such fortune. Thank you, and I look forward to the next video where I will be going through some of the archetypes, character archetypes that Aristotle lays out in the concluding part of the book.